All these things look familiar, but colors are all wrong. Well, boy, looks like we're being invaded by outsiders. Either that or I'm caught in a time warp. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're here at JoeFest and we're going to show off something special to everybody. Hopefully a lot of people here as well, but I wanted to share it also with you, my viewers. We have here a bunch of Lego Red Shadow characters from the European Action Man toy line. Now these guys were the bad guys to their Action Force, which was basically their version of G.I. Joe. They were made by Palitoy, who did license the use of many of the molds from Hasbro and also from Kenner at the time, since they were also helping to release the Star Wars toys over in Europe. So many of these things will be somewhat familiar to American viewers due to the fact that they did copy the vehicles, at least these three present, from the G.I. Joe toy line, and even a couple of the guys here were molded from G.I. Joe figures. The Red Shadows served primarily as the villains to the Action Force. But when Hasbro eventually bought up Palitoy, they had the things changed in it so that it would match the continuity to a degree of what they were pushing with G.I. Joe. So eventually the Red Shadows would get dissolved and reformed into Cobra. So it's basically another way of looking at a different origin for Cobra. But at any rate, let's take a look at some of these. We'll start with the enemy's leader. This is Baron Ironblood. And of course, I did a little customizing here to make his outfit look a little bit more like it should. It's supposed to have a little skull in the center of it, but I'm not that good at drawing yet, so Baron Ironblood's real name is unknown to the Action Force, but it is certain he was first heard of as a mastermind behind South American revolutions. He dreams of world domination and is noted for hypnotic control over his men, so that makes them very loyal to him. You know, unlike Cobra Commander, Baron Ironblood did have a removable helmet. And I did find a face that was pretty similar to Baron Ironblood's. He should have some white hair, but as you know with Lego, you can't have hair and a helmet at the same time, so I went with the more iconic look with the helmet. And I gave the Baron both guns that he came with, even though the figure was only sold with one gun. The early releases of Baron Ironblood came with a Uzi submachine gun, very similar to the ones that Steeler and Snake Eyes came with. But later versions of Baron Ironblood came with what would be known as a DL-44 heavy blaster pistol, because this was the gun Han Solo used in Star Wars. And that was the gun that came with later versions of the Baron. So, since I was able to get both of them as customized pieces, I just figured give him both. That way I appeal to all the fans. Next up, we'll take a look at arguably the Baron's second in command, the Black Major. Now, while his name is also not revealed in the series, it is listed as top secret instead of unknown, due to the fact that he is a former member of Action Force who was captured and severely brainwashed by Baron Ironblood to be a loyal soldier to him. He has a brilliant military commander and tactician, but of course, they're also trying to keep it secret as to who exactly has turned traitor to their cause. And of course, I did some of the touch-up work here for customizing him, painting his shoulders and the top of his hat. The Major came with an AK-47 rifle, pretty much the same one that the Cobra officer came with. And this red tile here is to be representative of the red paper that he came with. It carried a secret code that you could use to create coded messages for your red shadows. The code symbols are a little intricate for me to have tried to put, for me, a novice person, to try to put on this little tile, but I figured with him coming with it, the thought is there. Alright, next up we will look at one of his vehicle drivers. This is the Red Jackal. The Red Jackal was, of course, a reissue of a G.I. Joe figure. He was a slight repaint of Destro. But instead of being the enemy's weapons supplier, the Red Jackal here served as a driver. As one of his specialties is high-speed chase driving, the other being head-and-hand combat. His real name is listed as Anton Novikov. He was apparently injured severely in a car crash, which Action Force doctors didn't believe he would survive. However, Baron Ironblood was able to snatch him up, and his own scientists used unknown technology to save his life, supposedly giving him a bionic head and hands. His hands apparently also contain shocking units that allow him to make a handshake a deadly proposition, sort of similar to the Joker. And of course, when he was sold, he came with the Hyena tank, this thing back here, and we'll take a look at that in a little while. Alright, next up we have this character, the Red Laser. A rather simple paint job on this dude, as he was a repaint of the original Cobra Commander figure. Basically the faceplate, the Cobra Commander. The Red Laser is not given a personal name. It's listed as unknown on his file card, but it is known that he was once a member of a Japanese terrorist group. He has a lot of technical experience since he studied laser technology at Tokyo University. He had dreams of power given to him by Baron Ironblood, so that made him easy to sway to the Baron's cause. And of course, he was sold as a vehicle driver. Sometimes he came with the Laser Exterminator over here, although sometimes they inadvertently released it with a regular Red Shadow Trooper. And of course, the Red Laser, since he was copied from Cobra Commander, he came with a Venom laser pistol. And while this is not exactly a Venom laser pistol, it is done up as a science fiction heavy blaster. So, It's kind of, we got it in spirit. Cobra Commander was also molded with a knife on his left leg, and on here we've been able to replicate it with a couple of custom parts. It's one of the companies I go through. They've made this knife holder for a minifigure's leg, and of course we've inserted a knife into it. So it's now more than just for looks, unlike on the original toy. And then lastly, we have this figure, the Skeletron. The Skeletron is basically a robotic trooper. He was the last mail-away figure made for the toy line before the Red Shadows were dissolved out of it. Since he came out in 1984, the same year as the Terminator, I don't think either one really influenced the other. Skeletron was also kind of a rushed offer to put out because the original toy they were putting out as the exclusive mail-away, they ran out of stock for, so they would eventually change it over to be a Skeletron instead. The Skeletron came with no accessories, but he did have a sticker that went down the middle of his chest, which would be a little difficult for me to try to duplicate on this little guy. Now, while LEGO does make a red skeleton body, I wasn't able to find one at the time, so I just bought a regular one and I painted it. I went with one of the fantasy skeleton heads for it, due to the fact that I liked the red eyes that were coming out of it. It kind of harkens a little bit to the Terminator, and I imagine that a Skeletron would have some weird looking eyes. On the original toy, most of him was unpainted, so I think those little details make him a little more impressive. Alright, we'll take a look at some of their weapons and equipment. We're going to start first with the escape armor. This is basically a red repaint of the Cobra Snake armor. Now, I did design Snake armor in LEGO, but I hadn't built it yet, so I just built this one instead. In the G.I. Joe continuity, the Snake armor could either function as an independent robot, or it could be driven by a human inside of it. Some models of that were also given a brainwave device that would allow it to take over the mind of whoever was in it. That made it more dangerous to use on G.I. Joe forces due to the fact that some of their own team members or other hostages could be put inside the armor, making them fight the good guys, and the good guys wouldn't be able to fight back for fear of hurting the person inside. And of course, the armor came with 4 add-on weapons. We have a claw, we have a flamethrower, we have a missile, and a machine gun. I've captured these pretty well in LEGO form. I added the added feature of that the claw on my escape armor can open and close, whereas on the toy it's pretty much made as a static piece. And of course, they are removable and interchangeable, allowing you to set it up however you want. And to a degree, it also will allow a minifigure to be put inside. So I did make it so that things would come apart, just like on the real toy. We just remove the arms, so that they don't get in the way. Take off this top bar that helps hold it together. And then the front section can be removed. Not perfectly, but as you can see, there is an open space inside. So we'll get a figure here. Take the Baron's guns away. So it said that the escape armor was meant more for the Baron to use to escape. Probably hence why they call it escape armor. Probably best get his arms stay straight down so they don't get in our way. There. We've got him inside. And then we just place that back on. Quit knocking this leg off. And then get this all reattached. Put the claw on the back so he doesn't lose it. And then there we go. The Baron is ready to head off into battle or retreat to fight another day. Alright, now with the armor out of the way, we'll take a look here at the Hyena. Hyena, of course, is a recoloring of the Hiss tank. Which longtime viewers of my channel will know that I did build a Lego version of a Hiss tank. And it's pretty much very similar to the Hiss. I mean, it has the cannons here on the top. They're pretty much the same type of cannons. And it has the universal tow hitch. In reality, this should be red as well, but Lego doesn't make this part in red. And I really didn't want to paint it because it'll just get worn off if I keep attaching other things for it to tow. And of course, we can crew it up just like the regular Hiss tank. We'll put the red jackal in here. Lay him down so that he can drive the vehicle himself. In the gunner's seat, we'll put the Skeletron. Let him sit up here and act like he knows what he's doing. And that's the problem with him not having anything to attach him with. He just falls out pretty easily. And then we'll stick the Major there on the back. I think I ought to put a seatbelt in there for the little robot. He keeps falling out. And of course, like we showed, has a universal... Well, now you just got to see the real me, folks. Not a pleasant sight, I can understand. Come on, camera, stay put. And now that we've got that attached, the unit can tow the laser cannon with it. And then lastly, we have the laser exterminator, which is built from the heavy artillery laser, or HAL. It was used by the G.I. Joe forces. It's basically a towed laser cannon. I do have a HAL built, I just haven't shown it to you guys yet. This one, most of the way, copies it. These sloped pieces are not the same as the ones I have on the HAL, because of the fact that those pieces aren't made in red. So I had to substitute it for different ones, so it's not quite as technical looking, but still a rather nice vehicle. And of course, in order to get it set up for battle, to remove one of the Remove this cap here so that we can separate the two support legs. And then we'll fold out the front leg. Definitely got to do this so you guys get to see how this works. And then it is set up in battle position. And we just get the red laser here. Put him in his seat. Of course, the gun does elevate and spin around just like the real toy. How he's able to do that and not make himself dizzy and sick is beyond me, but oh well, as long as he's on there enjoying himself. But at any rate, this is just a fraction of what was available with the Red Shadows. A somewhat forgotten bit of lore from the G.I. Joe and Action Force toy lines, but one that I do hope will get some notice once again at some future point. But I'm definitely hoping that I'll impress a few people here at JoeFest by seeing that even though I had really no exposure to these guys, I was able to make a few nice, half-decent replicas of them in Lego form. Well, viewers, give me your thoughts. What do you think of the Red Shadows and what all I've done here? I look forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying that I will catch you all later, because Larry and I are headed down to the show. Yo, Joe!